We show up after the clock, coffee gone, boards unlocked. You move your night, I move my mind. Late to chess, but right on time. Tell me what you saw before the queen fell hard. Every bad idea turns into a spark. Late to chess, we make a mess, then we make sense. Late to chess, one more game, one more defense. Late to chess.
Welcome to the Late to Chess podcast. We have no delusion with the doctor. He is unavoidably detained. I think they had a weather issue inside his snow globe, and he's working on that. But again, we are able to have a guest on, and it's always weird to me to have a guest on who's much more well-known, has a much bigger podcast than ours, and introduce them like you don't know who it is. But just in case, you never know. Could be the first time. He is someone I started listening to shortly after I found it, because I guess I can give this away for him. He'll figure it out later. I'm a process guy, an engineer guy, so I wanted to figure out how to get a better brain process to make better decisions, because I don't know if you've realized this, but in chess you need to make decisions. And then there wasn't anything out there, and then there was when I finally did the right search on my Google Foo improved. And he has a podcast, a website, newsletter. He does way more podcasts than we do. Luckily, his are shorter, so he has some type of life outside of the podcast. But I think he's pretty close to 7 days a week, which, whew, that's a lot of work. I know what that means. And he deals with the mental aspects of chess, specifically in the area of what's normally called visualization. He has a different word that he likes much better. And Don't Move Till You See It podcast from very, very far away. Our new record-setting guest for as far away as he possibly could be. Aiden Rayner, welcome to the podcast.
Wonderful to be here, Bill. Thank you.
Sorry for the long intros, but I whined around about. That's why, I have extra tape in the computer, so I should be able to record for quite a while.
Love it. I have a way of sentences getting away from me as well. So.
That's fine. That's what a podcast is made for. It's like endlessly babbling around things, but never actually finishing the thought, because you get off to a sidebar. It's just kind of like skewed off. Anyway.
Yeah.
So I did a terrible intro. I tried, but I did terribly. So I know you play chess. I know you got into this specific aspect of chess. I fear you don't play as much chess as I wish you could or would, but maybe it's just what you want. I don't know. So just in case people aren't familiar, and to help those of us who are relatively new, how did you get to where you are? What's your personal chess journey? How would you, you get stuck in a one of those dinner parties. You're standing in the corner, because chess people stand in the corner. We don't ever get in the middle. And somebody says, "What do you do?" And you say, "I do."
Yeah. There's only a few steps I have to go through to fully explain it to the people at the dinner party. I just go, I run a chess business, and I try to leave it there.
Yeah. That's like me. If I don't want to answer, I say, I'm an engineer, and they don't ask any more questions. None.
Yeah. I get the questions, though. I get the meeting. Oh, so you're a master? And I'm like, no. It's like, oh, so you're just really good at chess? And I'm like, not really.
Not really, no.
This very particular little thing that I do. So yeah, my chess journey, much the same as many people. We all found ourselves with a couple of spare years over COVID. And one of the ways that I spent my time in those spare years was getting into chess. And through the journey of trying to improve there, I stumbled into this thing that's now become my career for the last 5 years. And that particular thing is visualization, or as I like to call it, conceptualization. I'm sure we'll get to that at some point. And basically, as I was training and trying to get better and doing all the things that the internet was telling me I should do and all of that, and getting marginal success, but kind of not really. There's like those big plateaus and all of that happening. Alarm bells started to ring for me. So I love deconstructing skills. I was a Josh Waitzkin fan long before I was a chess fan because like his work on learning and taking skills apart and stuff was really inspirational to me. And I went, all right, well, I've got all this time on my hands. What if there's something missing clearly? Like chess, at least to me anyway, chess was this like unnatural levels of plateaus. And as I was looking online, so many people were stuck in these things and so many adults were just in these interminable plateaus, which is just not my experience of any other skill I'd learned or kind of most other communities that are around learning. It just seems so strange that these interminable plateaus were just accepted in the chess world. So I wanted to look at things a bit differently, and I thought, why not try to take things apart? And all of that led me to visualization as this central concept and central skill to chess. Like granted, there's a video from Hikaru. Much more recently, there's been a video from Fabiano talking about just how critical visualization is to chess. And then I was looking at the YouTube videos and the courses, and like no one was talking about it at the time. Thankfully, more people are now. But like sitting there in 2020, like no one was talking about this thing, but all of the top players were saying it was the most important part of the game. So I was going, well, if it's that important, I should focus on it a bit. And one thing led to another, and I started getting into blindfold training at my lowly sort of 900 rapid rating or whatever it was in chess.com at the time. And over the course of 6 weeks, I jumped 500 points just doing 10 minutes of blindfold work, 10 to 15 minutes of blindfold work at the start of each time I sat down to play chess. And I suddenly felt all of these things I'd been trying to learn come into my game. My blunders started to clear up. I started noticing opportunities. It's like my intuition was working with me instead of against me. And didn't know if that was good or not because I was really new to the chess world. Started looking into that, and apparently that's quite good improvement. Not unheard of, but quite a nice, quite a nice jump.
Everybody would take an extra 500 elo.
Yeah. So, and that led me to go, well, maybe this can be helpful for other people. Reached out to a few masters to sort of get their thoughts on it, see if they'd seen anything sort of focused on blindfolding the way I was approaching it with audio before. And to my surprise, out of the 5 masters I spoke to, one of them signed up for the site immediately. Another 2 of them started putting the ideas into their own training regimens for tournaments and things. And I was like, oh, okay, so there's something here.
There's a hole.
Yeah, there's a gap. There's this space between the adult brain experience of chess and the instruction content that's out there. And I've really focused the last 5 years on trying to become the expert in the space as much as possible, and reading a lot of stuff and doing a lot of experimentation and coaching and whatever to try to deeply understand what it is about the adult brain that is missing in chess content, and how do we better wield and harness the hardware that we have to sort of clear up a lot of the glitches that hold us back and actually feel clear when we play.
Right. Well, I might be a case study for you because I've got like 3 things I've identified that I do terribly.
Yep.
And I refer to them as these things must go. And some of them I might have a chance at figuring out how to get them to leave the building, but a couple we're gonna talk about here because
all right, beautiful.
If you're not selfish on the podcast, why would you have one? It's not for the billions of dollars that we're making from this. So everybody's like, "Oh, you're making a small fortune with the podcast." I said, "Yeah, but the problem is it started out as a big fortune." But that's okay. It's fine. It didn't start out as a fortune either. It was a joke, guys. But anyway, so I guess let's just clarify for people listening that may get confused. The thing that I think chess is particularly good at is convoluting things and making things semi-complex with jargon. So if you were to say you like conceptualization, which a lot of
Mhm.
people would refer to as visualization, but
Yep.
then a whole bunch of people will refer to that as calculation. And
Hmm.
to me, that's different,
Yep.
related, but different. I do both of them wrong just to make it easy for you.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we're going to talk a lot after this podcast, maybe even during.
Hmm.
But anyway, so how would you put down the lines between those? Because I think they do cross over somewhat, but they're definitely different.
Beautiful. Well, we'll start with the more traditional terms, I suppose, the visualization and calculation, sort of what the
Yeah.
difference there is, because then conceptualization will sort of fit in its own little space. The the difference there is like visualization is part of calculation, but it is not all of calculation. It's the I see it as the raw information layer. It's like what data are you gathering?
Hmm.
So visualization's the process, the way it's traditionally talked about, is the process of picturing sort of what this move looks like on the board, what it means to have that space empty, what the knight looks like on its new square, what it's threatening on its new square, and having that sense of clarity, often visual clarity in the way that it's discussed. Um, and then if that is properly clear, then you are more likely to make good calculations because you're getting good data about that future position that can then interface with like your tactical knowledge or your strategic or positional knowledge.
Hmm.
And that decision making then comes in. It's that decision making that is the added layer that turns it into calculation, would be how I would put it. Visualization, raw data, calculation, the decision making. What do you actually do with that data?
Okay.
Conceptualization, on the other hand, is what I prefer instead of visualization as a term. And the reason I prefer it is that not all adults visualize. In fact, for a really strong percentage of us, it's not the main way that we engage with the world. It's not the main way that our brain presents complex information to us. Um, so, and for some people, there's like who have aphantasia. There is no mental pictures whatsoever, and they play chess just fine. David Proust is international master with aphantasia. Not physically cannot visualize, still does everything that is traditionally called visualization, just not visually.
Right.
I myself am much more of a verbal thinker as well. I have a visual element to what happens in my head, but it's mostly stories and logic, yeah, that helps me navigate chess positions, whether it's over the board or blindfolded or whatever. So there's this big spectrum of internal experience of how we present and process that complex information, that the word visualization is just super alienating
Hmm.
and incorrect, even incorrect for a lot of masters historically. It's just the wrong word because it implies pictures where there does not need to be any.
So I don't need to look at my bedroom ceiling and have
Some people do.
three-dimensional. Well, yes, but that's not required
No.
to become good and maybe even proficient
Mm. And
at
it's not
this.
even better.
It's just
Uh,
different.
it's just different. There doesn't seem to be a better. The only edge that people who do see in pictures um, have over the people who are sort of more verbally leaning is that when you're starting the journey, it's a little bit more self-evident that it's working.
Mm,
Because if you
okay.
can see the picture of the board, then yeah, you can see the picture of the board. Well done. If you can't see the picture of the board and you're dealing with information in different ways, there's this little leap of faith that's required
Right.
at the start of that process. We sort of lean into it and trust that your brain will work it out. As far as I can tell, that's the only advantage. Um,
So so I guess the thing is let's I'm trying to get a mental model, which I guess is kind of funny because you're on here and that's what we're talking about. Um, you could have somebody who's like truly photographic type visualization to somebody like David, who we're the doctor and I are both in the chess dojo, so we know David.
Love it. Yeah.
Um, who's as far as the visualization goes, the visual part of it is essentially blind.
Yeah.
And then I think I've been doing my homework. I think
Mhm.
most everyone fits somewhere in that spectrum, maybe towards the side, or maybe dead center in the middle, or maybe have a preponderance of one or the other. But it's not like it's bad to be this. It's just
Mm.
it is what it is. And if you try to fight it, that could make things harder, I
Yeah,
think.
absolutely. And we've had world champions from across that spectrum, as far as I can tell, as well. So, what started me down this journey where I kind of realized that, yeah, visualization is the wrong word. Partly is my own thing. Like, I know that I like my mental imagery is kind of like dirt maps, is about
Hmm.
as defined as they are. It's like dirt maps you see in a movie of like the base is here and we're here and we're
Yeah.
going to come in from this direction. Like, that's about as clear as my mental picture gets. And so I always felt a little bit of a disconnect there. I figured as long as I understand what's going on in the position, doesn't matter whether I see anything.
Right.
Uh, but what really started me down the path was running into some research about George Koltanowski,
Hmm.
American grandmaster, and he would do like he's well known for going back and forth with Al Yekin for the blindfold Simmel record all the way through the 30s. Like there was
Yes.
just one of them would set the record, and then like 2 weeks later, the other one would beat that record, and it's like multiple. Like I think Kolsnowski's record was something like 37 boards or
That's
something like maybe early 40s, something in
it's,
that space at once,
it's only
blindfold.
40 more than me. It's fine.
Yeah. And but to read Kolsnowski talking about what happened in his head, he explicitly said that he doesn't see pictures. He described what happened in his head as his mental gramophone, that he would record the moves as he heard them, play them back to himself, and feel the position, is the way
Hmm.
that he described it over the course of a couple of articles. And that's an extremely non-visual way of
Yes.
thinking about it. Uh, then looking through the last really serious bit of research on it, there's a little bit more modern like stuff happening right now, which is quite interesting and cool. But like up until like this last little bit, the most recent serious research, and this was 1897 or 1894 or something,
Wow.
by Alfred Binet. And even looking through like Binet's conclusion was that the more abstract visual you have, the better you are as a player. It's an incorrect conclusion, but I can see where he's coming from. And if you
Yeah.
look at the data that he's actually working with, he's in order to come to that conclusion, he's discounting like he says that Samuel Rosenthal, he just sort of assumes that Samuel Rosenthal was lying
Yes.
when he said that he doesn't see pictures, and he sort of feels it the way that you're aware of shops to the left and right of you as you're walking down the street. Was just a really cool metaphor that Rosenthal used. And there's a lot of these, even in that research, of these people with decidedly non-visual ways of going about it, that even got discounted then. But somewhere along the way, the idea of like visualization got locked in as pictures. Uh,
So
and yeah.
so I think the visual part was something you were trying to do away with, or at least minimize when you said
Mm,
conceptualization. And I think at least when I came into the game, so background wise, I played when I was a kid, like played like I played checkers and I played Sorry and I played Monopoly and I played Uno or Othello. Don't play me in Othello. I'm actually quite good. Um, but my whole concept was the single page of paper that was inside the Parker Brothers square box that had chess and checkers, and that was it.
Mhm.
And didn't know what en passant was, didn't know what castling was. First move was always either A4 or H4 or A5 or H5 because I wanted my rook to come out because I was
Yeah.
good with those. Made sense to me. And the middle, we work around that. We kind of played the donut method. We played around the middle. We never got
Mhm.
there. But I never realized, and at the time, I don't know that any of the libraries that I was at school or in my town had chess books. So I didn't know there was any depth to it. So all my philosophy was strictly move my piece to a spot where they can't get me and I can get them, and they'll mess up, and then I'll get their pieces and then I'll crush them. And it worked pretty well. But they
Mhm.
weren't chess players either, right? Didn't play. But then one time when I was in college, and that was it. I just played it as a game. I never studied anything. And then I played one time as a college player, and I saw somebody at a friend's house. It was the night, you're probably too young. Tyson fought Spinks. We were over a friend's house, and his father was a professor, and he was going to school with me. And I said, "Oh, there's a chessboard. I like chess." He's like, "Are you good?" And I said, "Well, I think I am." So I played him, and he beat me like 2 games and like 5 moves each. Like just,
Yeah.
I don't even know what they were. Turns out that his father was a grandmaster. Whatever.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really have a good chance there. So, but I never played anymore because I'm like, well, I guess I'm not a chess player. So I never played until recently. So there's like a 30-year gap, 30 plus year gap. So with that, I've come to there was a point to the story, and I've meandered off. You know how we do that? We meander off, and I'm like, I've got to land this plane somehow.
My brain lives there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's part of the problem. Is I started learning that there's more to this game, and then I started hearing about this blindfold chess, and I was like, why would I do that? I'm not good with my eyes. Why would I take my eyes away? And so that leads me to my question. The importance of why would we want to work on this? Because I don't know about your game, but I know my game. Swiss cheese has a lot more cheese than my game. Like I've got holes. I've got holes all over the place, and they're
Yeah.
huge. So why would I say, "Hey, I want to do this with my eyes closed"? Because I've already got enough stuff to fix. Why would I try fixing something where I can't even see what I'm doing? How is this going to help me, or why would I want to do this? And for some people, and I was one for a while, it was like, nah, I'll do that later when I get good.
Yeah.
And does anybody ever think they're good? I've never met anybody who says, "Oh, I'm good at chess."
Nobody
No.
does.
It's like
Yeah.
the 200 elo above me is good, but I'm terrible. So why visualization? Is the juice worth the squeeze? What am I juicing? Am I squeezing?
Love it. I would say absolutely. And the reason for it is kind of interesting. It takes a little bit of background into how our brains work to kind of get it, but along the way, we'll explain probably what some of those holes are as we're going. So
This is gonna be a long podcast if we got to do the holes I have in my game. It's gonna be a long list. I don't know if I have enough memory in this thing. We'll see.
love it. The core to it is that there's a lot of processing that's happening that we're sort of not really aware of. So we experience chess as a process of we look at the board, based on what we see, we make decisions, and then we play the result of those decisions. What's actually happening is that there is too much information on the board for our brains to actually juggle all of it at once without some kind of training, or this is an extremely familiar position. There's just too much information. So what we actually end up doing is looking at the board, our brain takes in a subset of the information that's there based on what has our attention in the moment. We make decisions based only on that, as if the rest of the board doesn't exist, or at least the rest of the ideas don't exist. And then we play that move. So there's this layer in the middle where the brain's taking the information in, processing it, sort of making compromises about what we do and don't hold in the moment. And then we play that move. And this is basically our working memory. We've got 7 slots of working memory is the way I like to frame it. So we can hold up to 7 pieces of information at once. And there are 32 pieces on the chessboard. So one of those numbers is bigger than the other one. And it presents a lot of issues for us in this game. This is why we hang our queen in one move to a bishop that we forgot existed. It's not that we are stupid. It's that in order to handle all of that information in the time, in order to handle all of the pieces on the king side, the calculation we're trying to do, our brain went, okay, the queen side's not all that important. I'm just going to let go of the queen side. So we make the decision as if the queen side does not exist. And as soon as we play the move, we no longer have to make any decisions. We no longer have to think through a calculation. And suddenly all of that working memory space comes flooding back. And the queen side comes flooding back into our awareness. And we immediately see we've blundered. So these really silly blunders are not like us being stupid. They are capacity errors, which is why they feel like they come out of nowhere. It's why no matter how many tactics you do, these issues continue to niggle and be a problem, is because we're targeting them the wrong way. It's a capacity issue, not a knowledge issue.
Yeah.
that's causing these things.
Yeah, we have a joke on the podcast where we always say that we're like 200 or 300 elo better once we click.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
as soon as we click, it's like what? But
Yeah.
before we click, man, we are -2, 300 easy.
Absolutely. I mean, it makes sense. 7 slots. If you're spending, I don't know, 3 of those, just to pull a number out of a hat, you're spending 3 of those on a decision. Once you've made the decision, your brain doesn't need to hold that space for that anymore.
Yeah.
It can
And then it's like,
let go
oh,
of
that's
that.
stupid.
Yeah. And we realize, oh, yeah, I just, like, 2 moves ago, I put my knight here to stop back rank mate,
Mhm.
and I've just moved that knight.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. The one that drives me crazy, and this may be one of my problems. I had lots of problems. I will sit there and I'm working hard on my calculation and my puzzles because I'm poor tactically. If you rank all the things that relative to my rating,
Mhm.
I think I'm poor tactically, especially my opponent's tactics. I think I'm really poor there. So I'm working really hard. I'm trying to visualize. I'm trying to calculate. I'm trying to do everything, and eventually there's this thing called time with chess, and eventually my internal clock says you just got to make a move, and almost 100% of the time when I'm taking too long, when I'm trying to push my limit for the calculation, when I'm trying to push my limit for the visualizing, when I'm trying to push my limit for everything, one of 2 errors happens. One, I lose track of material. So I know that I took 4 pieces of, let's say it's a live tournament game in the US. Those are plastic pieces with felt on the bottom. I took 4 pieces of plastic with felt on the bottom, and my opponent took 4 pieces of plastic with the felt on the bottom. Is there a material difference? Not to me. It's 4-4. But one of them could be a queen, and one of them could be a pawn. Or for the weekend that we just played, one was a bishop. It was a 4-move take, 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 take. I came out with 4 pieces. He came out with 4 pieces. I didn't do it because it was both of us had 4 pieces, and I wanted to have my queen because I was attacking, so I didn't want to trade off queens. However, one of the pieces I took was a bishop, and one of the pieces they took was a pawn. So it was a stupid thing not to do, and I did it. Or the other dumb thing I do is I do the calculation. My internal clock said, bing, you've got a certain amount of time to average. You're taking too long. Let's play a move. And right before I go play that move, I see another move that looks cool that I haven't calculated at all. And I play that one without, without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
I just want to shoot myself in the head with something that's recoverable, but I really want to shoot myself in the head because like, you did all this work and then you just fling it out the window and said, I'm going to wing it with my chess intuition, which has an ELO rating of -200.
Yeah. I love it. The way I like to think of intuition is like masters always talk about intuition as this really, really strong point, and for them it is. For us, it's not. It's not like for us, intuition is like I like to think of like your intuition as this really enthusiastic friend that's rated 200 points below you.
Not even.
You don't want to crush their dreams. Every now and then they're going to see something amazing, so you want to listen to what they say, but you've got to keep them a little bit under wraps. And that's kind of the situation. Like every now and then our intuition is going to throw something amazing at us, and other times it's not. There's a bunch of things behind those 2 examples that you gave. I think the meteor one is the second one. And that experience of thinking, oh, I'm under time pressure, brain throws something at you and you go for it.
Hey, that looks great too. Let's do that.
Yeah. I call that freewheeling. So when our working memory is under that much strain, it tends to try to compensate and compromise in one of 3 ways. It's freezing, forgetting, or freewheeling. Freezing is pretty straightforward. It's the experience of either we can't think at all, or we find our brains looping over the same kind of collection of ideas with no new insights. We're just going round and round and round and round and round, and our time is clicking. And that's when our working memory doesn't have enough space for us to think and create new thoughts. All 7 slots are full of whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
Forgetting is extremely common. It's one that we'd experience as tunnel vision. So when people talk about tunnel vision, they're probably talking about forgetting. And that is where, like in our other example, in order for your brain to help you try to calculate this complicated thing on the king side, it just forgets the queen side exists. Or it forgets that the knight is doing a really important job and you shouldn't move it. Or it
Yeah,
forgets
you've got
whatever.
this known. I know that this piece is here to do something, and then later on
Yeah.
you say, "I'm moving it anyway."
Yeah. It's not even moving it anyway. It's you move it. Like there's not even a sense of anyway. You've
No, there's no
completely
anyway. Yeah,
forgotten in the moment that there is like there was no decision there. It was just
100%.
missing from the mental model at the moment. And then the last one is freewheeling, where the brain basically just takes an exit off the highway. It just pulls the release valve, the eject hatch, and like we're off to the races. It's extremely effortful for the brain to do all of that calculation and hold all of that information. Like anything that strains our working memory, like chess basically does immediately, is really effortful and hard for the brain to do. So if it is presented with something that is exciting, quote unquote obvious, there's a lot of interesting stuff around kind of the idea of the obvious move, or something like that, where the brain goes, well, like, yeah, your brain goes, oh, here's a move that looks good, and the rest of your brain goes, oh, thank goodness,
Yeah,
yes,
I'm out.
oh, this is awesome. We're doing that. Because that is like just doing that. It looks superficially plausible, superficially acceptable. It seems positive. And the brain goes, thank goodness, and plays it. That's freewheeling. Freewheeling can also pop up in like framed thinking, where I suppose the best way to explain this is as an example. I was doing a session with a coaching student. We're doing a live game. So they were playing. I was like taking notes and they were explaining their thinking process as they went. And they had this big attack on the king side, everything looking really good. Like pieces were all lining up. The opponent had really no chance to defend it. And their opponent pushed a pawn in the middle of the board. And I watched my students thinking shrink down to, do I take or do I push?
Right.
And they thought deeply about either of those options, but never once did they consider ignore the pawn entirely, keep doing what you were doing.
Yeah, it's just a distraction or a decoy.
It's just, but like the brain shrunk right down. It's like they were thinking deeply, but only within this frame that the intuition had given them. Their intuition had gone, oh, you have to deal with the pawn. And then they thought deeply about how to deal with the pawn rather than what's the actual best move in the wider situation.
Right.
And all of these things are happening on a kind of subconscious level. We're not deciding to put ourselves in that frame. It's just how our brain is handling the information that is given to us. And you'll see that a lot once you're kind of aware of those frames in your own game. You'll see them everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. The other one that I did, which was new to me, was I had a problem with some pieces in the middle, and I looked at it, and I could take one of them with my bishop. It doesn't really matter what the pieces are. But I looked at it, and I said, oh, that doesn't work. And then for the rest of the game, that move was dead to me. I never looked at it again. It's almost like the bishop stopped moving diagonally in that direction because it wasn't good. So it was like a known bad and disregarded. And that if I would have done it, not the first time because it was bad, the second or the third or the fourth or the fifth time, I actually would have won the game, which makes me so happy to go over my game. So
Awesome. Yeah, I love that.
I'm like, oh, that's great. And then I finished the players like a little bit more than double my rating. And he goes, oh, you needed to take the knight with the bishop. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me? Well, not that you would in the middle of the game. But, I'm like, so then I checked it. I'm like, yep. Not only could I have taken it, I could have taken it, I believe it was 3 times. And in my mind, but I didn't have a chance to take it anymore. And then I looked over the game and like I had 3 times and the move never appeared as a potential candidate move.
Yeah.
If I would have seen it, I would have done it because it would have made sense. But it was dead to me. Dead to me. God, I hate myself sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, all this stuff is your brain working the way it's designed to work. We're not designed to play chess. Chess is just, it's insane that we can. The sheer amount of information that we have to process in a chess game is ridiculous. And we're, really not designed for it. So it's one of the things that drew me to it so much is I felt like I came face to face with my psychology. Chess. Initially, I found it as like a mindset gym to a certain extent. Like if you have any issues with your mindset, you will experience them over a chessboard.
Yeah.
But then as time went on, I've realized, this is actually just like a microcosm of how my brain interacts with the world.
Right.
And that's been really cool. But yeah, a lot of the things that our brains are designed to do cause a lot of blunders and big mistakes in chess.
Yes. So you mentioned it earlier. You said, nominally most people have around 7 slots for thinking, which I think of as I can work on seven or hold 7 pieces of material in my head at best. And maybe some people have more, maybe some people have less. Can you get more? Can you train to get more? Is that possible?
Yeah. So the way the slots work is it's like holding 7 tasks, I suppose,
Hmm.
or 7 it's like yeah chunks of something. So and depending on how familiar we are with a position or whatever, we need to use more or less on just navigating the information itself. In your absolute favorite opening, you're probably not using all that much of your working memory
No.
to handle that position.
Right.
You're very, very familiar with it. It's in your long term memory. It's much easier for us to do things in long term memory. So that's really simple. Though, if we put you in an opening that you don't play at all, then suddenly you're in a lot more of a working memory space
Yeah.
where you're trying to deal with like novel input
Right.
and how this stuff goes together. And every chess game, you're going to hit some point where you're primarily in working memory mode. As far as how do we get more, there's not really a way to create more slots for yourself, to use those terms. The increasing working memory capacity is not something that, while it was sort of experimented with a lot through like the 60s and 70s and stuff, it doesn't seem to be actually a way to do that. What we've got is what we've got.
Okay.
The What we can do, however, is train our brains to be a lot more efficient at certain types of information.
Mm.
So, um, in chess, for example, it's much easier for us to remember kingside castle than it is to remember f2, g2, h2, king g1, rook
Yes.
f1. We could hold those as 5 different pieces of information, or we could hold it as one piece of information.
Right.
Uh, so what we can do is train our brain to get better at handling, processing, chunking, and navigating chess information, and just get it used to dealing with that kind of stuff. Um, and that's the approach that I've taken with the work that I do around the piece of like forcing the brain basically to get better at navigating and handling this stuff by giving it no other option.
Yeah. So you're kind of you have what you have, and there's no sense complaining about it. Like you may be one of the lucky few that have 8 or 9, and you may be one of the ones that have 6. But it's not going to hold you back, really.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah.
So you get used to dealing what you're doing, and this was where I diverge. Are you familiar with the Chess Dojo at all?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're big proponents of no opening work until a certain point, and I kind of this is like one place where I fought them a little bit, not physically or I mean, I still support them, but it took me so much mental processing to derive all the piece moves and potential issues because I was playing anything like
Yeah.
developing move, castle, center control, which literally gives me 30 moves to play with after 3 or 4 moves. And I had to figure out which one. I was feeling mentally drained to the point where I felt like when I got to the middle game, my brain was toast, done, need to take a break. So that's when I decided to do a little bit of opening work, and I refer to it as I don't have a book. I have a pamphlet. I barely have like maybe a little short brochure.
Love it. Yeah.
Six moves, 7 moves, maybe a couple I know a little
Perfect.
deeper because they're particularly bad or particularly good, either one. But it helped me, and now I feel better mentally in the middle game. Like I feel like I can, like if I was like I used to run track, I could run a sprint and my brain would be shot by move 10, or now I can run a little bit more endurance. I'm not quite a marathoner, but I feel like I can still think later or longer into the game. Does
Yeah.
that make sense with what your research has shown?
Absolutely. It's like I fully understand their push. I
I do too.
also
It just
struggle a bit with the hard line of it. Although I've definitely worked with people that have followed that and gotten great results out of doing
yeah,
that. So definitely don't want to sort of besmirch it as an idea, but the trade-off there is that you end up doing on a brain level exactly what you had to do, which is, you're in working memory from move 1
yeah,
because you don't really know what you're doing or what the plans are or
Nope.
kind of what ideal looks like. You
No.
didn't really have a model of what you're aiming for.
Like, we're supposed to fight over this square. How am I supposed to know that?
Yeah. Yeah.
No clue.
Yeah, exactly. So like up until a certain rating, like it might be 1500, it might be 1800, it might be 2000, or whatever, depends on who you ask. But up until a certain rating, the benefit of openings is really just to shrink the possibility space of the game.
Yes.
It's
And
you
to
want to
save your
know.
brain, in my
Yeah,
mind.
exactly. What you want is like, this is the sort of the way these games go. I know what my plans are. I know what I'm trying to do. I know what ideal looks like. I know why it looks like that.
Yeah.
I know what I'm meant to do with it if my opponent allows me to get ideal. And maybe you know a couple of traps that you need to avoid or whatever.
Maybe, yeah.
But like, it's just shrinking that possibility space into a spot where you can sit in long-term memory for a little bit longer and you know what the rules of engagement are.
Mm-hmm.
Anything beyond that is kind of wasting time on openings until you're at a certain level where
for sure.
your opponent also knows those things. But having that level is really important. I think overlooked, like just what the goals of the opening are. What does ideal look like? These are questions that even people who study openings a lot sometimes can't answer.
Yeah, typical plan would be nice to know. You know?
That sort of stuff. That's the stuff that matters.
Yeah.
Because it's again helping the working memory, helping your brain navigate it because you've got a framework.
2 words that aren't important when you're this low: lifetime repertoire. Not what you need. Not what you need. Tried one of those. I even tried club repertoire. I'm like, oh, I play in a club. No, that wasn't it either.
Yeah.
Beginner. 100 moves. That's the one I like. But
yeah.
Okay, so we're on board there. I think so you mentioned that the blindfold training had helped you. Is there, much like the opening discussion we just had, is there you need to get here level wise to start to do that, or is it something we should start from the beginning? Because it's one of those, like we talked about before, there's so many holes when we're starting out, you know, dropping pieces, hanging things, just, you know, giving up one move checkmates because you just didn't see it. Well, actually, you didn't even look. So it's not a matter of not seeing, it's a matter of not looking. But is there a time, like, get to this level to start, or kind of start in parallel, or I don't know?
Not really. Like, I wouldn't give it to someone who's like starting that day necessarily.
Yeah.
But Josh Waitzkin used to talk about the best way to, if you had to take somebody who knew nothing at all about chess and give them lesson 1. And with lesson 1, he would put 2 kings on the board, 1 pawn, and they wouldn't be allowed to move the pieces. So just like lesson 1 would be right from the get-go, a little bit of what I would call conceptualization in this very basic environment. So learning basic interactions of kings, of pawns, and this really critical skill right from the get-go.
Right.
It's definitely a level of that. I'd say in order to engage with blindfolds, which we can talk a bit why blindfold is sort of the path I've gone. But in order to engage with blindfold, a basic chess fundamental knowledge is pretty important.
Right.
Before taking that leap. But I've had students sort of even at 600 rating jump into blindfold work and starting to see those improvements as they come through.
I could see, like, at my I'm roughly, you know, I'm under 1,000 on chess.com and you know, like 800 over the board. I could see doing blindfold work for me, but not of a full game, like not from a starting position, but from a like a king pawn end game, or a king queen, whatever, rook queen, whatever. I could see doing that, but a full game, I don't think I'm ready, or my assumptions what I need to do to be ready aren't accurate. I'm not sure.
I mean, you'd be able to get there with a bit of practice. Like, very few people can jump straight to full game, but it's also not what I recommend directly. Over the years, I've built 12 different styles of blindfold or blindfold adjacent exercises that are hitting like different parts of our conceptualization. The thing that works really well with blindfold and why it would where a lot of my students have come through that 1,000 over 1,200 kind of space. The stuff like also I've worked with IMs and things. It's been a wild journey. But where this stuff comes in that space is a lot of the mistakes that you'd be experiencing are these sort of out of nowhere, quote unquote, stupid mistakes that like just seem like like that kind of feeling of how am I still making that error?
Yeah.
Like you'll notice this amazing opportunity and go for this thing. You'll get this crazy night fork or whatever, and you'll be this in a great position. And then 3 moves later, you hang your queen. And that's the kind of experience of the 1,000 rated player in general. And a lot of it is these conceptualization elements. A lot of it is working memory capacity and forgetting stuff, but it's also awareness of detail. So when our brains are under pressure, it sort of naturally filters out detail. It doesn't want to bring in lots of detail. And we end up missing a lot of stuff. So even in just the move. So we think about one move as a move in its entirety, but each move is really 4 separate things. A square empties, so diagonals, rooks, files open up.
Yep.
A piece leaves, so that piece no longer has the same influence on the board, so things might get undefended or whatever else. A square fills, so the piece is now in a new square, so the diagonals, ranks, files close around it. And lastly, a piece arrives, so new things are attacked, new things are defended. Missing a detail in any of those 4 things can be the difference between an awesome move and a horrible mistake. Like there's plenty of moves that we've all played that look incredible if you think about it only from where the knight is now, like where we've just put the knight, look amazing. And then we realize we've hung a central pawn, or we've opened up a check on our king, or like something devastating comes at it from the other side of the move, the vacated square.
Right. So
a lot of the issues I'd imagine you'd be facing, we haven't looked at games or anything, but are in that kind of space.
It's coming, buddy. It's coming.
Yeah. Yeah. And this stuff is also kind of, I suppose, a little bit the difference between conceptualization and visualization. Visualization cares about only the moves ahead. Conceptualization is much more about like how is your brain handling the information? How is the chessboard and your working memory working together? Whether it's the position directly in front of you, whether it's your calculations, whatever. It's like, what is that processing layer?
I can tell you it's very simple. Poorly.
Love it. But there's like only a handful of things that you'd need to improve to see that growth going through.
Okay.
Blindfolds, what blindfold does, and the reason I like it is it's a forcing function. So if we think about the brain as lazy, which I always find to be a very useful frame for this sort of stuff, if we think about the brain as lazy, if it has an opportunity not to do the hard thing, it's going to not do the hard thing.
Yes. And
our eyes cover a lot of stuff. Like the fact that we can see stuff means that we often don't realize a lot of stuff. I had a lesson with a 2200 rated player, and I got him to do a thing that I call the 5-sentence exercise, which is you pick a game, and on every single move, like literally every single move, you write 5 full sentences about what that move does. Like what's different about this position because that move has happened. And you'll find if you do that exercise yourself, it takes ages, but is well worthwhile. By the end of sentence 3, you've done all the obvious stuff. You've said it's attacked this, it's defended this, whatever. Sentence 4 and 5, you're pushing. Like you're trying to find something that you can say. Like, oh, this square is a little bit weaker. Or like, I suppose it's a forking alignment between the king and the queen now, but there's not a knight anywhere near it. Like you start stretching for these things. And then the amount of times that a few moves later, the master uses one of those details that you found on sentence 4 or 5 is like wild. But anyway, this 2200 rated student, you said that he'd been playing e4 for 30 years, and he had never realized, like his eyes knew it, but he'd never like mentally clocked that the move e4 slightly weakens the f4 square because he can't move the e pawn up to protect it anymore. Like he'd been playing that move his entire life, and he'd never realized this thing consciously. So like that's a higher level example, but there's a lot of things that like a lot of players that don't quite like deeply realize how the knights and the central pawns interact. Their eyes tell them in the moment, But when they're making decisions, they'll very easily move the knight away and forget about that relationship for a second because the brain's never fully taken that in properly. Blindfolds takes all of the crutches away. And it basically goes, hey, if you're going to remember this, your working memory is going to have to work out how to handle this. You're going to have to pay attention to those details, make relationships between the pieces, like make sense of this. And forces you to do that work. And amazingly, it doesn't take very long before it starts to work out what it needs to do. Brains are awesome. If we put it in that kind of situation, it's extremely adaptable. It'll do the cool thing, and we'll start to feel that sense of clarity come through pretty quickly. First time I did blindfold, the pawns came out. I like recorded a 25 move game because I'm overconfident, and it's just the audio of myself reading the moves. That's probably an important detail that I don't think I've said yet. By like move 1, the pawns came out. I'm like, all right, cool. Pawns are out. They're defending these squares, these diagonals. I had to like count out the diagonals. And then the knights came out and I was lost. As soon as the knights were in the position, I was completely lost. I had to start again. But just doing that for 10, 15 minutes, I'd made it up to move 7. With a pretty strong understanding of what was happening in the position, not having seen a board at any point in the process. And that was the start of that 500-point jump, was that session. Because I came out of the game after that, and I went into a regular chess game after that, and my brain just started giving me stuff. Like it was almost like my intuition had this bump. I've realized that doesn't happen for everyone. But I was very, very happy it happened to me, that kind of immediate, like, whoa, experience. I believe you are muted.
Yep, I am. So sometimes I feel in the game, not always, but there's definitely points in the game where I feel like I'm fighting against my brain. Like it's another opponent for me.
Yeah.
Because it's not doing what I need it to do. It's sitting there saying, like sometimes I try to model the brain, and I'm not sure I should, like a muscle. So I'm trying to build up my endurance and conserve the energy, like in an because we have these crazy things over here, overboard tournaments, where you'll play 5 games in one day.
Oh yeah, I've seen some of those schedules, man.
And it's just like, okay,
oh my goodness,
I gotta make it till, I think it was a 45 delay 10. First off, I don't like delay, but that's just me. But I was just like, I got to do 5 of these things. Okay, so I gotta save some brain somewhere, and it's not working that well to begin with. And by the end of the 5th game, it's like, can I drive home?
Yeah,
So I don't know.
Absolutely. I mean, like, yeah, anything that puts the strain on the working memory is extremely effortful.
Yeah.
And the more effort and the more tireder we are, like if as we get tired, we lose slots. As emotions kick in, that's another big one. That's why tilt is so damaging. Because
mine's excitement.
Oh, cool. That also is a thing. Yeah.
That one kills me because I am stupid when I'm doing well. It's like, I am killing you. I'm crushing you. I stop even looking at what your moves are. And
absolutely.
It's terrible.
It's like that's one of the reasons chess is so hard to win when you know you're winning. Like the sheer amount of blunders that come within like 2 or 3 moves of I'm ahead is ridiculous. It's like nuts. But it makes sense. It's like, again, super effortful. When we realize we're winning, our brain goes, oh, like just let's go. It goes, oh, wonderful. And we become more intuitive. We become less suspicious of ourselves and of our opponent. And all sorts of intuitive things start to actually to really illustrate intuition in a cool way. Let's do a thing. You're an engineer, so you may not have an issue with this, but you might still have the experience of it.
I am known for terrible intuition in chess, but go ahead.
All right, love it. So this is actually not a chess question. This is like letting you and listeners experience their intuition in real time. So I'm going to ask a question, and we'll give you a second with it, and then we'll talk through what I think. Maybe it didn't happen for you, again, engineer, but for definitely for a bunch breed.
Of the, I know.
The listeners. I get it. So the question is: a baseball bat and a baseball together cost $1.10.
Okay.
The bat costs $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost?
It's $1.05 and 5, and the ball costs less of 5.
Nice. Cool. So, again, engineer, so
Yeah.
it may not have done this for you, but I guarantee this particular flow happened with a bunch of the listeners. And it's, you hear that, and the brain immediately goes, 10 cents.
Nope.
And then people either will say 10 cents, like a really high percentage of people just assume it is 10 cents and then move on. And there's different ways that you can put people in different situations,
Yeah.
and based on like the level of pressure they're under, it changes the likelihood of them saying 10 cents. Brains are awesome. Anyway,
Yes.
so a lot, like, yeah, we'll say 10 cents. And then they have this really interesting space. Even the people who know it's wrong then get this weird experience. I've done this like with well-renowned physicists and stuff as well. It's a similar element. You may have had a some level of it. Is that you realize that 10 cents is wrong. So you try to think of the correct answer. And then there's this experience of not just trying to think of the correct answer, you also have to actively fight against the wrong answer because your intuition keeps saying 10 cents every time you think about it.
Or
So
you try to figure out what you're doing wrong to make a wrong answer.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So you get caught in something. The intuition's going, it's 10 cents. It's 10 cents. It's 10 cents. It's 10
But
cents.
it's not.
It's not 10 cents. Yeah. And it's like, this is what happens over the chessboard. This is what happens like when we get that idea for the sacrifice or something in our head.
Or you
and
look
we'll
at
try-
everything
we realize
your
it's wrong.
opponent can do
Yeah.
except one thing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. And it doesn't work. And it doesn't work. And you're like, it just doesn't work. And you do it like 4 times. Not that this
Yeah.
happens. 4 times. And you're like, this doesn't work. So I ignore it. And then he plays the 5th move, which I didn't see.
Yeah. Or the
God.
really painful one, and I've done this a ton, I think we've all done this a ton, is like we think of a move, the first intuitive move that jumps out at us. That's the brain going 10 cents. Is
Yeah.
this, whoa, here's a thing. We think about it, we calculate it, we decide it's wrong because there's something wrong with it. We definitely shouldn't play that. So we think of another move, and no, it doesn't look good either. And we think of another move, and it doesn't look either. And we go, oh, we're using up a lot of time, and we play the first move we thought of.
Absolutely.
And then as soon as we let go of the piece, we go, I already decided that was bad. What am I doing? That's the 10 cents impulse. That's the intuition fires. It's the enthusiastic friend 200 points below us. It's automatic. We can't control it. We can't shut it up. All it recognizes is patterns, and it's not even particularly intense about whether those patterns are 100% accurate. The intuition just goes, this looks like something I know, whether
I've
it
seen
is
this move
actually or
before.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's amazing how often that flows in, even just in the way we talk about chess squares. Is a thing called the board flip that a lot of people that I call the board flip that a lot of people would experience, which is you say a square and you know which one you mean, but you said the one that was on the other side of the board.
Yeah. Because you're
so
playing
like,
black.
yeah. So like the amount of people that call F2 F7. If you're an E4 player, you're somewhat likely to call F2 F7.
Mhm.
You're very rarely going to call F7 F2.
Yes.
Because F7 is this very, like, it looms large over every E4 player. Like, we've all made those mistakes. F2, no one cares about F2. F2's like F2 is not a thing in general. So when we're trying to think of the name of that square, we say the wrong one. We know what we meant, but it comes out of our mouth the wrong way around. Like, the board's the other way. D and E files, same deal. Lots of flipping there. F3, F6 for the knight, like that often gets mixed up as well. There's just a ton of these little ones. And that's, again, it's just your intuition hijacking your mouth for a second.
Yeah.
Like,
or
it's-
my scoreboard, because
Yeah.
my first ever over the board game, because I've only played online. I'm keeping track. I
Yeah.
try to replay the game when I get home, and I'm like, those pieces can't get to where I said they went. Like,
yeah.
physically, it doesn't work. So
Yeah.
I have no idea what my first game was like, and it bothers me. But I was playing.
Love it.
I
It's
played.
a whole different skill, that.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's so much easier online. But okay, so I've got 2 things that we could get to. One
Mhm.
is we talked a lot about it, but we didn't really talk about how or what to do to get better at this. Or
Okay.
I have a ton of listener questions, which
Yeah.
some of them may end up getting us to the same spot. I don't know, because I honestly don't know. I know I need this.
Mhm.
I don't know exactly what I need, and I definitely don't know the path to get to where I need to be.
Okay.
So I know I need this. Like I said, you're going to be stuck with me for a while. Maybe not now,
Love it.
but soon. So what do you think would be best? Because I want to be respectful of your time, but I also want to suck as much out of your brain as I can.
I'm having fun. Like I love doing this stuff. As far as I'm concerned, my mission in this space is to tell adult improvers that their brains are fine.
Yeah.
And that this is like this the amount of pain that people go through because they don't
Yeah.
understand this stuff. And they're in an industry where I mean everyone's incredibly well-meaning and it's beautiful, but most of the people teaching learned when they were kids and they've never had to experience this. They don't get it.
Yeah.
Like
put your piece on the right square doesn't help me.
Yeah. It's basically when I initially wrote my article about the four things that change with every move, and IM reached out to me and said that he just never thought of it that way. It's just the move.
Yeah.
And it's like this. It's just things that our brains do that, like masters chess knowledge. Like, dude, like the access we have to chess knowledge right now is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But this little part, what I call the muscle, is so misunderstood. So I love this stuff. As far as which one of those things we should do, if you think that viewer questions are going to get us to the same spot anyway,
maybe. I don't know.
That might be the pathway, but I'm also happy just to keep going. Whatever works.
I can keep babbling. So well while we're dealing with brain things, my beautiful bride just came down and gave me a charger, so we're back up and running. Good.
Beautiful.
So I think I'm really good at details and focus.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can focus on something for a very long time and I can remember a tremendous amount of details. But at the same time, I ignore things. Like overly focused. Like Vicky will say, "Hey, go to the green bathroom and get the shampoo that I need." And I'll be like, "Which bathroom?"
Yeah.
I don't know which one's green. Like I'm not even sure. I might have a green bathroom here. I just chose green, but I don't know what color my bathrooms are. I don't care if you ask me what color the bedroom is. Might be gray or might be beige. It's not
sure
white.
either. Now I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
I don't know because I don't care.
Yeah.
But that's good in some ways for chess, but it's terrible in other ways for chess because I think of the board. I think, and it's hard to do because you can't think about what you're thinking when you're thinking about what you're thinking about. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I know that you know that I know. I think in quadrants.
Okay.
Or slightly bigger, like maybe 5x5 instead of 4x4s. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really good until it's not. And I think that that's part of my problem is the focus that I have, which helps me in everything else, kills me in chess.
Yeah. Cool. Nice. All right. I'm getting into models and stuff now. That's juicy. So to define terms, a conceptualization model is the term I use to describe what goes on in your head when you conceptualize. So I've already talked a little bit about my dirt maps that are backed up by stories. Al Yekin used to talk about his logical memory that he would use. So he wouldn't really do a lot of pictures. He'd flash an image of the board in his head every now and then when he needed to remember kind of what was happening in a position. But most of the time he used his logical memory, which, for example, what that was, he would talk about, like, he would often forget some detail in the position, like where his B pawn was. And instead of trying to picture where the B pawn was, he would remember that earlier in the game he had to stop knight C4. So his pawn must be on B3. Right. It's like that sort of stuff was his model. There's tons of models. Eric Rosen talks about the flashlight in the dark room, which is a pretty common idea. It's like seeing sections at a time and sort of moving around.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do. I think.
Yeah.
Poorly.
And some people do the full 64 squares. There's been sort of grandmasters and stuff in the past that have said that nobody does it, but absolutely people do it. I've spoken to a few. And same as people with no imagery at all. So yeah, getting into models is really interesting. As an adult coming to the game, it's really important that we try to lean into what our brain kind of naturally already wants to do, which can be really difficult to trust and work out what that is. Because a kid coming to the game is still pretty malleable and can sort of adjust to something more visual with chess. Adults coming to the game, we've had decades of our brains handling complex information in certain ways. Right. And it doesn't make sense to force them to do it differently.
Right.
So in your case, yeah, you've got that. Yeah. So it sounds like hyperfocus, maybe a spatial awareness is purely, I
Yeah.
guess, a lot of engineers tend to be very spatially minded. It's not so much pictures in your head as like a feeling of energy and pattern and space.
Like I used to take this, we had to take an IQ test for one of the classes I took, and every year you had to take it, sometimes twice a year, depending. And I would do well. And then one year they gave it was a box. It could be
Mhm.
rectangular or square, didn't really
Yeah.
matter. And it had colors on it, like a shaded triangle or something.
Yeah.
And the teacher walked up to me and goes, "How do you walk? Like you are a babbling idiot right now." Because I did so bad on that. Just
Yeah.
nothing. But if I
Yeah.
go, like when I was playing volleyball, I'd go watch the pros play. And then the next day I'd go play and I'd be, not a full level above, but I'd be half a
Mm.
level just by
Yeah.
watching people. So I'm good visually until I'm not. And then
Yeah.
it's useless. So I
Yeah.
don't really know what I think like. I just know I think a lot and probably too much, but that's part of my problem, I think. I don't know.
Love it. But
So,
as far as like that issue of getting bogged down in a quadrant, forgetting that the rest of the stuff exists, it's part of it's practice. Like that's the kind of stuff that blindfold work would assist with, because you'd be putting your brain in a situation where it has to remember all of this
right.
and how it all goes together. And you can take your time with it and sort of really build up that muscle and that understanding. And then like if you can handle an entire position and then kind of what it means when the bishop moves and how these things interact, when you can't see the board, then those things become much easier to handle when you can. Like if your eyes are on the your opponent's king side right now,
Mhm.
and it doesn't feel like it, but if your eyes are on the opponent's king side right now, 3/4 of the board are blindfolded.
Yeah.
Because you're focused on this section over here. That's what your eyes are taking in.
Yep.
The blindfold part of your brain is handling the rest of it. I call it semi-blindfold.
Right.
And if you want to get good at handling, like in your kind of space, of having your brain better handle the other three quadrants and how they change, how they interact with what you're currently looking at, then forcing your brain to get good at it when all of it's blindfold
Right.
is a kind of nice way to build that skill across.
Yeah, because one thing I've been working on, we talked about, I was working on calculation and visualization pretty hard. Ghost
Mhm.
pieces are a big deal for me. Like
Yeah.
I will be playing an opponent and he has 4 bishops just
Yeah.
because I've got them everywhere. I mean, this
Yeah.
it's really tough to play this guy. He's got a lot of pieces on the board, and sometimes they'll blink on and off. Like, the real bishop will blink off, and the fake bishop will still be there when I need the real bishop to be there, and the other one.
Mhm.
And I haven't figured out how to get that. So,
All
like I
right. So
said,
there's a couple things you can do with that. First off, understanding the mechanism, I think, is always really important with any of this stuff. The
why is
mechanism is
important?
it's intuition. It's the same deal. Yeah, it's the 10 cents thing.
Oh,
It's
okay.
that your eyes are responding to the patterns that you can see, whether they're still relevant or not.
So I should look away.
Look away is what all the pros do. That's why
Hikaru's
Hikaru
like,
looks at the ceiling. Naroditsky, RIP, like put his
Yes.
head in his shirt.
Yep.
That's what they do, and that's why they do it, because it's in a lot of cases they also feel they can be more creative when they look away. There's been a lot of masters that have talked about that over the years. Susan Polgar being one of them. So yeah, that's kind of the only way you can 100% get rid of ghost piece issues is by completely looking away, like removing the intuition's prompt.
So it's
but
like
it's not
overwriting.
necessary to get to
the
that
eyes
level.
are
That's
overwriting
like-
the brain, I guess.
Yeah. It's not necessary to get to that level. Part of the issue is that we don't have hooks. So really what we want to get to is a point where our intuition and our kind of deeper, more reasoned thinking are dancing really nicely
Mhm.
together. Intuition can do what the intuition's good at, but it's not overriding anything. It's not taking over. We're not freewheeling. Our reasoned thinking is there sort of moderating what our intuition is giving us.
Okay.
And some of the ways we do that is with detail. So part of the reason why ghost pieces can be so dangerous is that A, our eyes are overriding what's in our brain. Makes perfect sense. And B, we're not putting a huge amount of attention most of the time on the vacated square. This goes back to what we were talking about before about the 4 things. It's the the stuff about the knight leaving the square that it was on tends to be where we come unstuck, or are more likely to come unstuck. And part of that's that we like when the knight leaves c3 to go to d5, we're thinking a lot more about the knight on d5 than we are the fact c3 is now empty.
Right.
And if we put a little bit more thinking into the fact that c3 is now empty, if our eyes then, our intuition then try to put the knight back there, some part of our brain is more likely to go, wait a second, no, c3 is empty. We talked about this.
Right.
We had a thought about this. A little bit of attention went to that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's simultaneously your eyes taking over, and it falls into a void where we don't really think about vacated squares all that often, as much as it's really, really dangerous that we don't.
Yeah.
I had a student describe it once beautifully. He said, if we think about both sides of the move, like where the piece arrives and where the piece is left,
right,
they're both 50% of the possible data of the move. If we don't think about the vacated squares, it's like stepping out into a busy highway and only looking left.
It works until it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's the same in chess.
So I really loved that. So yeah, it's like, only looking left. So vacated square is really important, but that might help catch the ghost piece issue is thinking more about that.
Okay. Because I think when you said there's 4 pieces to a move, my brain thought, but really there's kind of 8 because I have to look at it both ways, like my way and the opponent's way.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
You know what I mean?
So there's like...
It's like my piece now doesn't do this, but it allows them to do that because now that's open for them as well. So it's kind of
okay.
8 pieces.
That's an interesting way of thinking about it. Thinking about like so I sort of think about it as like a neutral idea. So thinking about it on this like kind of objective level of when this knight moves, these diagonals are now open, these ranks and files are now open. What does that mean? Like, is there any detail?
Yeah,
that's
I think of it for both ways. Like, what's it mean to me?
For both sides. So like, it's already being parsed into.
Yeah. So I'm filling my slots like nobody's business.
Real quick. Yeah. Okay, nice. That's an interesting play. I can see that. That makes perfect sense how that comes together. That's really interesting. Yeah.
It's like when somebody says checks, captures, and threats, which by the way I hate. But
yeah. We can go into that as well if you want.
I think I do. I'm good with the C's. The T kills me. But I always write like I have this little label sticker printer. Yeah. Like a little one that I can put like chess diagrams on, or I can have like little notes to myself. So I had a note to myself for pre-thoughts, and one of them was CCT 2x because I had to do it both ways.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So if you want to go against threats, I am all for it.
Checks, captures. I've got my issues with checks, captures, and threats. I don't hate it. Again, like any of this kind of traditional stuff, it's all very, very well meaning. It's so many people have trouble with it, and it's because of our brains. It's just like there's a gap. As always the case. So for starters, the reason why threats is so much harder is that threats is way less objective than the first two.
Yeah.
The first two are very, very like one move, easy to like check mark kind of things of like what are these? Threats requires a little bit more interpretation. So threats is always a lot harder. But also any of these checklist things take slots to do.
I know.
Until they're really, really, really ingrained habits. But it's also extremely hard to make a really ingrained habit to ask 3 questions on every move. Like that's just a really hard thing to ask our brains to do.
Or more.
And what often happens is we start well, and then as soon as things get a bit intense in the game, which is exactly when we need these things the most, they drop away because it takes self-control to do them. Self-control takes up a slot, and our brain goes, we don't need that right now. We're dealing with our working memory is full enough. We're going to drop the self-control slot.
And then you die.
And then you die. So that's why a lot of this checklist stuff is I'll say incomplete. I think it is very, very useful. Checks, captures, and threats is an amazing back pocket tool, like something to deploy in situations. But to actually build a habit out of it is very, very difficult. And unfortunately, with the way it gets talked about, when the adult improver can't build the habit out of it, they assume it's their fault and they beat themselves up for it.
It's tough 50
as
moves
opposed
into
to
a
it's
game.
Actually not a very good habit to try to build.
Like 50 moves into the game, you've thought of checks, captures, and threats 150 times.
Yeah.
And honestly, you didn't need to every single time.
Mm.
Like the first move, what's the checks, captures, and threats? I don't care, you know.
Yeah.
But then you just skip it, and that's that one time where you needed it, and
Yeah.
intuition left the building. Okay.
Oh, intuition has run of the building is often the
Yeah.
case.
Yeah, pretty much. That's true.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so one of the listener questions was pre-move thinking, as in what and how, because I guess this is where just the checks, captures, and threats, or the clamp method, or the burger method. Not that I've done dives on 15 different ways. I've done memory palaces too, just to drive myself absolutely crazy.
That's a fun rabbit hole. Super important for blindfold symbols. I'm skeptical as its use for most people in a single game.
Well,
absolutely indispensable for blindfold symbols, though. My word.
well, the lunatic in me wanted to do memory palaces for openings.
Yeah.
Which,
There's a really good book on memory palaces for openings. I could see it being really important for like where openings are critical.
yeah, I don't think it
for,
was.
like,
I don't
Nepo.
think I was at the level where I needed it, so I just dropped that and just ran away happily, skipping away, going, "Whew, don't have to do that again." So I guess what to think about pre-move and how I were the two questions that were getting, and if there's more questions related to pre-move thinking, what's your kind of stance on there?
Nice. Well, I could talk about the conceptualization part of it as far as chess knowledge and strategy and positional understanding or whatever.
Yeah.
There's significantly people significantly better than me. As far as the conceptualization bit goes, is what you want to do, like while you're, I suppose, looking at your opponent's move is probably way, like as they've just played their thing, is you want to gather data. So you want to make sure that you understand what that move means. And not even just what that move means, like on a basic level, what that move does before you get to what that move means. So, for example, your opponent might move a queen down to a spot that's maybe a checkmate threat against you.
Mm-hmm.
But in doing so, they also undefend a knight, sort of up the other side of the board.
Right.
What that move means, checkmate threat, we have to deal with that. So absolutely have to notice that. But what that move does, we also need to put into our brain that, wait a second, that knight's now undefended. That's kind of interesting. I wonder if we can do something about that later.
Right.
It's probably not the greatest example, but what we want to do is fill that sense of what that move actually is in as objective a way as we can. Like try to take the processing or like deciding of what it means out of the equation,
right,
and go, what does it mean that this piece isn't there anymore? What does it mean that square is empty? What does it mean? We don't actually ask these 4 questions, but we want to practice thinking about a move as both sides of the move. What does this do? Gather those details. Once we've gathered those details, you're much better equipped to make a good decision about that, regardless of what framework or system or whatever you do for your decisions. It's always going to be better off if you've taken a second to gather the data first.
But the thing that I often get wrong, less often now, I guess I'm getting better, is when it does multiple things.
Yeah.
Like the tactic that gets me the most is like a discovered attack. Because I'll be like, oh, that does this. You're attacking my bishop. I don't care. I'll take that. And then they take my queen. And it's like, So it's not good enough to just have one idea. You got to get them all. So
this is the data piece. That's why like bringing it down to objective layers, like the difference between checks, captures, and threats, right? So threats is its own sort of slightly wishy-washy thing. But checks, captures are very objective and clear.
Yeah.
So if we think about each move of like, okay, when that knight moved, it undefended that pawn. Or it's allowed this other pawn to move. Like, what are these objective things that happen? We gather all that objective data first, and then we decide what it means. And that can help us navigate a lot of these problems. The classic one I alluded to before is the obvious move phenomenon, as I call it. So it's where it might be a case of, I don't know, you notice that your opponent's got the queen and a rook on the same diagonal.
Right.
And there's a spot where you can get your bishop that skewers them.
Yes.
So you play the bishop out, it hits the queen, they move their queen because obviously they had to move their queen, otherwise you'd take their queen, and then you take their rook.
Yes.
But the square they moved their queen to
is a
threatened checkmate, and now you've got a rook and they've got checkmate. And our brain does not think about that other part, or at least it's much less likely to, because there was an obvious reason for the move.
Yeah.
And our
That's my
brain,
excitement level goes up, and then I just
yeah,
become a blithering ELO idiot. So
yeah. So like, yeah, we stop thinking at that point, and it's, yeah, again, a brain thing is a superficially plausible answer that comes readily to mind. It's the 10 cents, 10 cents, 10 cents thing
hmm
of obviously they had to move their queen. That's all we think about.
Yep.
Or the other way it shows up is like in openings where opponent plays something strange and we go, oh, that's weird. And then we just keep doing whatever we would have done anyway and don't really think about the new weird move.
Yep.
Like these weird little ways that our brain handles and juggles and compromises on this information. Um, so that thing that you're talking about of if the move does multiple things, sometimes one of those things is so screamingly obvious it's then hard for our brain to continue.
Right.
And this is where a habit to gather the data becomes really useful.
Mm.
As far as a way to actually build that habit, it's not the wisest move to try to do it all at once. The way habit building works is you want something really small and really clear, and you want to do it a bunch until it becomes automatic, and then you can add to it if you want. So for most players, and this even holds true for like 16, 1800 rated, 2000 rated players, but in their case, it's more about the calculations, a couple of moves up the line where this stuff becomes really important. But this sort of idea of the vacated square is a really big habit to build, making sure you are, there's a first step, putting a little bit of attention at the vacated square every time a piece moves or every time you consider moving a piece. One of the, actually not one of, I'd say the best way I've found to train this. So it's great with blindfold training, sort of forced as well, because if you think about the vacated square, it helps you actually tie the whole position together and does make everything much easier to flow and to hold, which is great. But a really practical exercise that listeners yourself can pick up immediately is a thing I call Jessica's review. So it's named after a student of mine who was getting, like my students get pretty good results in pretty good periods of time. And then she was blowing everyone out of the water with how quickly she was picking this stuff up and these ideas were showing up in her games. And we sat down at the end of last year to work out what she was doing to cause that. And she was doing this game review process that's now a central recommendation for me. So the way it works, you finish a game. Before you go through an engine review, any of that kind of stuff, you do this really quick Jessica's review. The purpose of the Jessica's review is to get reps on a habit. You almost don't even care about the chess. You're just like repping the habit. And what you want to do is on every single move for yourself or your opponent, ask, like check the vacated square. Basically, what does it mean that piece isn't there anymore? And look for something that comes out of that. Some moves, there'll be a really important, interesting thing that you maybe missed or that your opponent missed or that opened up an opportunity for opponent. Other times, there's nothing too major. Like when you develop a knight, rarely is there a big deal that the knight isn't on B1 anymore. But doing this rep, getting through a game, say a 30-move game, 40-move game, if you fly through that, every single move, what does it mean the piece isn't there anymore? You're getting 60, 80 reps on this habit idea. Some of those you'll notice, oh man, if I'd noticed that in the moment, I had this, or I'm lucky my opponent missed this, or that's where they punished me, like that's where the mistake was. You'll notice that as you go through. And if you do that on a regular basis, again, brains are lazy. It'll work out that, oh, this thing's important. I guess I should pay more attention to this. And because you're getting 60 to 80 reps of checking for the vacated square, like every time you do a game review, that flows through into your games pretty smoothly because it just trains your brain to pay attention to both sides.
Right.
And that can help with a lot of those does multiple things situations. Not going to catch all of them, but it's a good 80-20.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll take more than I have now. So that's fine with me.
And you can always add to it later as you go as well. So other things that come in. Yeah. So it was a long-winded answer, but I hope the question asker finds that useful.
We will find out, because one thing our listeners do is they write in a lot, and so far they've been happy. So who knew? We get lucky.
Too bad it ends here, huh?
No, I think we are well on our way to one of our better episodes ever. So I think this person listens to the doctor a little bit too much, which is never good, but I'll give him credit for this one. He was I think it was a he. I didn't write down who wrote these in. When they're worried about the and this is I think this is slightly off of what you do, but it might be related. Converting knowledge to a functional skill in the game, because I think a lot of adults read way too much, take too many chessable courses, study. I'm 100% guilty on this. Study way more than they should, and don't play. Like I'm probably a 2000 elo knowledge guy,
Yeah.
but I am far from a 2000 elo player. So is there something related to your area that would be helpful for that?
Like a lot of gap that players feel in that space because we are in the knowledge era. We've all got access to all this crazy stuff that's amazing. Back in the day, people had like their one book that they got and they like
Or zero for me.
or
I
zero,
mean,
yeah, and they
none.
would just like deal with that and they would like take everything that could be taken out of whatever they had access to. Um, Now it's sort of the other way around where there's just so much out there
Yeah.
and the hard part about chess is like most of that stuff for somebody out there, it is the single most important thing that they should be looking at right now.
Yeah.
Um,
But it might not be now
it's
for
probably
you.
not the case for everyone. Like,
Yeah.
the 80-20 rule is always a thing. There's always stuff that's going to be more important. Out of everything you could learn in chess, there's only a small subset of the things that will actually get you to your next milestone. Um, but as far as where the conceptualization element comes in is you'll find that if that knowledge is really there, if you had a good sense of tactical patterns or whatever, removing some of that working memory constraint is going to help with a lot more freedom in your thinking around those things. You're noticing for opportunities for those things.
Right. Because you can.
Your ability to basically use that information is, yeah, it's a big thing. So I don't talk about this hugely because it can be a bit, it doesn't happen this way for everyone. So anyone who does want to get into blindfold training, take this bit as like, this is not a promise of what's going to happen. But I've seen it enough times that there is very much a thing for a lot of players where knowledge is at a higher level than the rest of their game. The things that are holding back, or they keep blundering their queen, or they like they don't notice the opportunities to use all this stuff they've picked up. Once they start working on the working memory stuff, we can see some pretty quick jumps where like that anchor is basically lifted.
Right.
Because suddenly they have access to that information.
Because literally you can think about it. Because
Yeah,
you're not
exactly. Yeah,
you're not
your
occupied.
brain's not maxed out just trying to keep track of the position.
Right.
You've got a couple of spaces to like actually think about that positional idea that you've been thinking about, or to notice, so to be able to pull out of the flow of it enough to notice, oh, wait a second, that's a really nice outpost. I should get up there. Or to notice what I call like dormant ideas, these patterns that exist in the position that we can't really do anything about right now, but the pattern's there.
Yeah.
So things like alignments where like my rook is on the same file as their queen. There's like 4 pieces in the way, but that's still kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And noticing and being able to work with those sorts of ideas is way harder when you're under so much pressure than when you feel and you've got a little bit of space, a little bit of base. So the rating jump piece is, I can't guarantee that for everyone. It happens enough that I feel comfortable saying it's a thing, but it doesn't happen that way for everyone.
Right.
But that sense of kind of freedom and clarity can come and really help use some of that data. So that's the conceptualization angle on that.
Okay. So this one I thought was interesting, and I think I thought about something similar, but not quite in this way. And it was in relation to reading over a PGN, or maybe a specific line in a chess book. Like the way it was worded was kind of fun. What should I see to
Love it.
start, and what should I work to see?
Yeah.
Like when I get, quote unquote, good at this game. And, And I was sitting there going, because I can't read a chess book. Like, I can't. I physically can read a chess book, but when it starts going, move, 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 move.
Yeah.
No idea what's going on. If I bust out a board and I push pieces around, or I do it on an electronic board, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you said, "Here's your PGN," where's checkmate? Not a clue.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna add yet.
Yeah. I mean, It's one of the big things. It's one of the most requested ideas. People want to be able to read chess books without boards. Like having to look at a board while you're reading a chess book is a pain.
And slow.
And slow, exactly. So there's no way to rush it is an important detail there. And one of the real challenges, oddly, slowing down is the first thing to do. And by that, I mean, often you'll read a chess book, say it's an opening line or whatever, and you see e4, e5, yeah, you know what that is, move on. You see knights, yeah. You wait until you get to an interesting move, and then you sort of stop and you start trying to think about what's happening in the position and how it all goes together.
Very good.
Yeah, but like what that is like those other moves, whether you know them or not, you probably don't 100% know them as well as you think you do, because the eyes cover a lot of stuff, like the 2200 rated player that went, oh, wait a second, F4 is a little bit weak because of this. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
There's elements to even those moves that you're probably not 100% aware of without your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you sort of look at that and remind yourself, okay, so that means the bishop is hitting, well, the bishop, if I move the bishop as far as it can hit a6 now. If I can move the queen up to h5, cool. So it's these squares, that's light square diagonals, whatever. Thinking through all of that stuff with each move, it sort of builds blocks on top of each other with a really strong foundation. If you skip through to the interesting move, you don't have any of that foundation.
Yeah.
So that you're trying to work out how this interesting move interacts with the rest of the position, but you're not particularly clear on the rest of the position.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing. Slow it right down. Another somewhat counterintuitive thing is to get like an index card, a little note card or something, cut a little hole in it, and specifically look at one move at a time.
Okay.
Don't let yourself. It's the reason I love audio is because you have to actually remember the stuff that came beforehand. You can't flick your eyes back and check where the knight was.
Mm-hmm.
And because brains are lazy, if the brain knows that it can just flick its eye back to remember where the knight was, it's not really going to try to hold on to that information.
Right.
So we sort of remove that crutch. Again, it feels counterintuitive because it makes it harder in the short term, but will make it much easier in the longer term because you'll be better at handling all this information and rolling with it. And then over time, you'll get to a point where you can navigate those lines a lot more clearly.
So when you say over time, are we talking decades or are we talking?
Oh, a lot less than decades.
Obviously it varies, but
Yeah, it'll vary. I mean, most people think playing a game of blindfold chess is this really impossible thing. It doesn't even take that long to get to a game of blindfold chess. It's a process of consistency is really important. I talk about like 10 minutes at the start of each day is kind of at the start of each chess session,
right,
is really like the core behavior that gets the most results.
So it's like a muscle.
Yeah, it's like a muscle, and you do that for a while. It's also important to do blindfold work and then some regular chess afterwards. It's just different enough that if we train blindfold in isolation for too long, the brain will start to treat them as different things and won't transfer the information across. So it's always really good to start off with some blindfold stuff and then jump into some tactics and like show your brain how these things relate.
Yeah. I'd hate to be bad at two different versions of chess.
The blindfold stuff's really fun. Once you start to see it as a way of just exploring what your brain's doing. Like the key is to focus on understanding what's happening in the position and kind of let your brain do whatever it wants to do to work that out. And in the early stages, it's going to do a lot of weird stuff as it's trying to handle the pressure and it's trying to like, okay, what do we do with this? And then it'll start to impress you and it'll start to, you'll start to feel clear. You'll start to understand what clear feels like. And then you'll be in a game doing a calculation and you'll start to be aware of when you're not clear and like in kind of what you could do to become clear again. It's like there's the flow works really nicely. I definitely deviated off the question there, but
no. I mean, that's what this whole podcast is about. So is it kind of like when you're first learning a new tactic and then you see it because you would never have seen it without learning it?
Yeah.
Sort of similar, I guess.
Yeah. It's like, the reticular activating system. You've shown your brain that this thing's important. That's what the tactic thing is. You've shown your brain that this thing's important. So suddenly you're seeing it everywhere.
Yeah.
It's the same thing of like, if you decide you want a car even though you'd never seen that car before.
Yeah,
You've told your brain this car's important, and now everyone seems to have that car.
Yeah.
So it's exactly that.
It's equally bad to do it the other way though. When I was first learning a fork, if I saw two things that were next to each other with a pawn, boom, it didn't matter what it could have been checkmate and one for the other guy.
Yep.
I know what a fork is, and I'm going to show you I know what it is. And
Absolutely. Yeah. Intuition, man. 10 cents. 10 cents.
Did not
10
go
cents.
well.
Yeah.
Did not go well. Okay. All right. So let's see. Converting. I guess one of the questions was, how do you prioritize this area versus the rest of the Swiss cheese that is our chess game?
Amazing.
Uh,
Yeah. I think of this stuff as a multiplier. If you get your brain better at handling chess information, it's going to affect everything. So you'll be able to learn end games better because you're not constantly losing track of like where pieces are or how they relate to each other.
Yeah.
Tactics, same sort of deal.
Bubble around the king, like I can control these squares, and because that's not natural for me. I don't know why, but
yeah. And games are like, for something of it seems like there's a lot less movement than every other part of the game. They're so hard to conceptualize. They're strange.
It's like I can move the king here or here. One of them I know is death. One of them I know, but they look the same.
They look exactly the same. Yeah. Yep.
And then as soon as you let go, bing, there it is. I screwed it up. Anyway, okay. Let's see.
So yeah, that's the thing. It's like approaching it as that 10-minute at the start of each session is my top recommendation. And if you've got time for something like a Jessica's Review to work on the vacated squares, like we talked about before, that's also a really high output.
Would that be part of your annotation process?
Yeah, I'd put that again at the start of whatever annotation process you've got. You don't even really need to annotate while you do it unless anything jumps up and does it. It's just the habit reps. And the idea is to be able to get it done within a period of time that doesn't feel daunting. So you really want to fly through it. Okay.
Two more listener questions. We gotta take care of our listeners because
love it.
It was kind of a two-parter. How best to improve the thought process, and is correspondence chess a viable way to improve your thinking process in a game?
Oh, interesting. I mean, improving the thought process piece, details is the big thing. So as I talked about before.
Yeah.
Another really interesting point on the thought process thing is there's other data to gather. Again, my stuff's all about like getting the data in the first place. Other people can tell you what to do with it. But you can have no hope doing anything good with it if you don't have the data.
And if you don't have a slot for you to think about,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's really going to be a problem.
So the other sort of part in that data that we haven't really talked about is the dormant ideas a little bit. That space of like alignments, patterns that exist in the position that we may or may not be able to do anything about right now. Noticing those as a game plays on is always good. Every single tactical opportunity in the history of chess, if it's not like someone just like putting their bishop on a square that your pawn controls, is a combination of patterns that have existed in the position for however long but have been dormant,
right?
And some detail out of the four things that suddenly opens the door to that tactic. And that's every pattern in the history of chess is like that. There's a pattern and something happens that means that pattern is now viable.
Right.
So yeah, if you get better at noticing the data in the first place, that's naturally going to help with the thought process as well. So you've got a better sense of what's going on. And what was the second part of the question?
Correspondence chess.
Correspondence chess. Yeah, that's a really cool one. So the beauty of something like correspondence chess is it is zero pressure.
Time pressure, right?
Yeah, zero time pressure. And it's pressure. It's that lack of pressure means we have more space. Yeah, there's not two slots being used on time or whatever.
Right.
So you're more likely to be in that nice flow with intuition and deeper thinking. It's not something I've done a lot of or sort of talked about a lot with, but it's kind of interesting to be able to have that total space to think about things ideally, as it were. Like what it looks like to actually think ideally about a position can be really useful.
Or think with the ideal process, right?
The ideal process thing is like, you're never actually going to achieve that.
Sure.
in an actual game, because as soon as time comes into it, pressure comes onto it. There's immediately things that we're going to have to do. Is I always like to train at a higher intensity that I'm going to need in the actual situation where it matters. A mate of mine is a juggler. If he has to go out on stage and do a particular trick with 5 balls, immediately beforehand, he's backstage doing the same trick with 7
Right.
because he wants it to be easy when he goes out, when he also has to perform and have an audience and whatever. I like to think about chess in the same sort of way. If you want to get really good at like 3-player calculations or 5-player calculations when it matters, you need to be doing more than that in your training,
Hmm.
because you're not going to have access to all
Right.
of that extra space. You want, when the brain's now handling all of these other things, you want it to drop back to where you want it.
Right.
So great from a sense of like where ideal comes from and really thinking through the process and exploring. Um, and depending on what you're after in your chess can be a really useful piece, but I wouldn't expect it to flow into suddenly really good blitz.
It would
Um,
be complementary or supplementary,
yeah,
I
I think
guess.
what it would be really good is just for people that love the beauty of the game. Is this the other big thing? Is like we call ourselves adult improvers, but for a lot of us, improvement isn't the thing, even if we sort of think it is.
Right.
I think it's really important as a adult coming to chess. We need to be really clear on our why. Like, why are we here? What are we doing? Why this? And understand that our why is going to change. Maybe your why is love the exploration of it, love the improvement of it, love the challenging yourself and pushing forward. But some period your work gets nuts, and just for a little period, your why is a bit of bullet on the train, helps you put work to the side and be more present with your kids. Is that going to tank your like general
Oh,
rating? Is that going to mess up your improvement? Maybe. Does it matter? No.
no.
Uh, like an understanding that the why changes can change on a daily level depending on kind of what we're doing, and always rolling with it. As it goes, I think it's really is a lot of a lot of people putting themselves through a bit of hell
No,
with the
not
wrong
us.
why. So
All right. So, last listener question, which may be a good stepping off point, and your day
okay.
may improve vastly because I think if I get my time zones right, you're just waking up.
Oh, that's good. It started at 9 a.m. This is perfect. Loved it.
Okay, good. I wasn't. Oh, I had it the other way. I had this earlier. Okay. Um, how best to work on this aspect of chess?
Okay. So on the conceptualization stuff, we've talked about the 10-minute stretch stuff. The easiest pathway to get into that is to check out the podcast Chess Visualization with Aiden Rayner. And that's got tons of exercises and sort of written pieces and various other things there, but lots of exercises. We've got 860 episodes or something now. So lots to do there.
Yeah, a couple. Even if
Yeah.
you only choose
And
the what's Tuesday's
the Tuesday
series?
Insights.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a
even
lot of
if you just
those.
choose those, it takes a long time, and they're not
It
long
takes a
episodes.
long time.
There's a lot of them though.
Been doing it for a while. Oh, the numbers rack up quick when you're doing daily. So, but yeah, it's been wild. So that's a great place to begin and get that 10 minutes in. And as you're doing that, take that slowly, focus on understanding what's happening, let your brain do whatever it wants to do. Don't sort of force it to see a picture. Don't force it to do anything in particular. Just sort of go, okay, so the pawn moves. That means the diagonal opens up. And then focus on understanding what that means, what that diagonal is, maybe what color it is, but let your brain work out what it wants to do
Uh-huh.
to achieve that. And that's how we discover our model as adults, because it will naturally try to do the things, use the skills that it's built in your career or whatever else, like however else you process things, it'll try to do that. Give it the time and let it do that. That's the great 10 minute part there. Then Jessica's review is fantastic for those awareness habits, as we talked about there. And if you want to go deeper into the either deeper into the training itself or just deeper into what's underlying everything, which can be really useful to frame a lot of your work, then the 5-day series on Don't Move Until You See .it, or just on the Don't Move Until You See It website, is a great place to do that and get like a lot of a deeper take on what we've talked about here.
Okay. All right. Now I just have to figure out how to do links so everybody can not have to take notes while they're driving and not visualize the website address, and I'll try and put
Oh
those
man,
onto the episode.
it's always such a worrying thing for me when I get the email. So I was like, oh yeah, I listened to your podcast while driving on the way to work. I'm like,
Yep,
oh please don't do that. Like
I do it. I
I
do
know
it.
just enough about like
Yeah,
working memory
yep.
and like attention and processing to know that's really bad. Please don't do that.
I will
Uh,
say I've missed my turn a couple times. That's all I'm saying.
yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I was supposed to turn there. Whoops. Okay.
Yeah, if you're sitting on the train, feel free. If you're driving, maybe some music.
Yeah, music might be better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or an idiot podcast like this one where you don't have to think too much.
Like talkie podcasts as it goes about is the full working memory load that blindfold demands. That's dangerous. Don't do that when you're driving.
So my plan, and you can grade my plan. My plan was to go through your Tuesday episodes, and then I
Mhm.
was going to go through your. I think you've got them notated like one brain, two brain, and three brain
Yeah.
episodes.
Yeah.
And I was going to do the one brains, and then I was going to go
Yeah.
back and do the twos, and then I was going to go back and do the threes. Or am I over engineering this?
That's pretty fun. You could probably start with the brains right now.
Okay.
Right from the get go. The all the knowledge stuff is background, different techniques and things. Like it's wherever I come up with a new technique or discover a new technique, those like the articles that I write in the newsletter or the inside episodes are the first place those things will show up. But yeah, you can probably start with the exercises straight up, and don't be afraid of the harder ones.
Okay.
Try to think of them as what I call Everest exercises, which is a term I stole from the world of bouldering.
Mm-hmm.
And it's these exercises that are objectively too hard for you. And there is a freedom in that that's really, really useful.
No, there's not.
Because you could jump in and go, okay, this is like, I'm not expecting myself to finish this. But I'm going to see what I can do. I'm going to explore. I'm going to like take the first little section of it and see if I can make sense of that and explore how that works. And it also pushes you just that little bit further that then when you come back to the easier stuff, you'll actually find it easier because you've just done something a bit harder. Yeah, love a good Everest exercise. Like think of them as like stuff you can bookmark and chip away at over time.
Okay.
Always a good thing.
I can say I've got two issues with that, and they're both me. One, I hate getting things wrong.
Mhm.
So, like you know how they say like in a chess book, if you're doing a puzzle book, you should be like 60 or 70%. That
Mhm.
drives me batty.
Yeah.
I'm like I need 95 or higher. But anyway, that's a personal problem. And then the second thing, and this is something I'm going to give a listener public service. I listen to podcasts at 3x. Don't try doing your podcast at 3x. It's really hard.
Yeah, you should be pausing mine very regularly and repeating quite often.
Yes,
3x it will not work.
Man, that's why I stopped doing the brain ones because I didn't slow down. I just
Yeah,
I'm like sitting there going, it was like watching a Hikaru video when he starts doing blah 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 blah, blah, and I'm like sitting there going, what?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think I could do it on 3x. That's a lot of information to take in very, very
It's just
quickly.
like,
Yeah,
which piece went where? So yeah, slow down. 1x is fine. Maybe even half might not be a bad
Half.
thing. Your voice will
pause
get a
a
little
lot.
weird.
The times are arbitrary.
Yeah.
I leave more space between moves in one brains than I do twos than I do in threes, but it's entirely arbitrary. The idea is to pause it as often as you need to, take in each move, however long that takes. It's the work to get the outcome, not the outcome itself, that matters.
Right.
So even if you do 10 exercises and you get all of them wrong, as long as you were trying to focus on clarity and understanding, your brain's actually doing all of the stuff that matters.
Right.
Like the answer's a bonus.
Yeah, it's a stretch.
Which is a little bit of the difference between this sort of work and regular chess puzzles.
Mhm.
Often you kind of need the answer for the regular chess puzzle to have done its job. But
Right.
In this stuff, as long as you are focusing on that clarity, really focusing on that clarity, then it's doing the stuff it should be doing.
Well, sir, I optimistically titled the outline for this part 1. I still have more.
Love it.
Got through a lot more, and I want to thank you for putting up with my questions for this long, and hopefully people will see this as an opportunity to get a better process, because I think there's knowledge, skill, and process, and they're kind of interrelated, and I think this one may not help your knowledge, but it may help you access your knowledge, or it may just make things a little smoother because, like you said, you understand more too. So it's kind of more than I even thought going into the episode, which means I'm going to have to bother you again in the future sometime. But I will be nice, and your day can start for fun now, and you can say, "Got rid of that guy. We're good now."
Well, I look forward to being bothered in the future. Yeah, and I hope that this helps a lot of adults to sort of embrace their brains and realize just how cool this hunk of meat we have in our skulls is. It's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, and it may not be you. It may be, you've got a process or processing issue, and not that that's a fault. It's just, some people think different ways.
Yeah, a key thing, not to bring in another detail, very very quick little piece is
No worries.
It's hardware stuff. We all have it. Magnus has it. I've worked with grandmasters, and I can put them under a certain amount of pressure in a position in whatever, and I can make them do moves that look very similar to the silly blunders that we make. Like, the difference that masters have is their intuition's playing on a different level. They've got all these great habits in place that are helping them navigate a lot of stuff. But at the end of the day, they're still human, and their working memory overloads in the same way. So these issues never go away, is the point I'm saying. They never fully go away. We get better at handling them. We get better at catching them before they cause problems. We get better at lifting the amount of pressure it takes before they happen. But they never fully go away. They're inbuilt human stuff, and it's just part of what we do. And as we get better at this stuff, we are, working with our base humanity in a cool way. So there's nothing broken about you. The Magnus does the same stuff.
So the optimistic guy on my brain says, so you're saying I got a chance here?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think so.
All right, very well. All right. Well, I'm not going to try to prove you wrong. So we will endeavor to start this up, and I will probably bother you offline as well.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
Thank you, sir. Have a great night.
Thanks, Bill.
Work day.
Mm.